Hey you, back so soon? You wanted to know what happened at the Beast Lords too? Okay, good. Because I'm very curious. I'm quite the curious being, you know? Well, let's get started, shall we? Diplomacy was never my strong suit, and my patience had run dry. I crouched and called out, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty." 2 golden eyes ignited at the opposite wall. A shape stirred within the darkness and rose, carrying the eyes up and up and up until they towered above me. A single enormous paw moved into the moonlight, disturbing the dust on the filthy floor. Wicked claws shot forth and withdrew. A massive shoulder followed, its gray fur marked by faint, smoky stripes. The huge body shifted forward, coming at me, and I lost my balance and fell on my ass into the dirt. Dear God, this wasn't just a lion. This thing had to be at least 5 feet at the shoulder, and why was it striped? The colossal cat circled me, half in the light, half in the shadow, the dark mane trembling as he moved. I scrambled to my feet and almost bumped into the gray muzzle. We looked at each other, the lion and I, our gazes level. Then I twisted around and began dusting off my jeans in a most undignified manner. The lion vanished into a dark corner. A whisper of power pulsed through the room, tugging at my senses. If I did not know better, I would say that he had just changed. "Kitty, kitty?" asked a level male voice. I jumped. No shape-changer went from a beast into a human without a nap. Into a mid-form, yes, but a beastman had trouble talking. "Yeah," I said. "You've caught me unprepared. Next time I'll bring cream and catnip toys." If there is a next time. I turned, and there he stood, wearing a loose t-shirt and sweatpants. A modest shape-changer, how refreshing. You wouldn't even know that he had changed, save for the glistening sheen of dampness on his skin. He looked me over slowly, judging, taking my measurements. I could blush demurely, or I could do the same to him. I chose not to blush. A couple of inches taller than me, the beast lord gave an impression of coiled power. Easy, balanced stance. Blonde hair cut too short to grab. At first glance, he looked to be in his early to mid-20s, but his build betrayed him. His shoulders strained his t-shirt. His back was broad and corded with muscle, showing the power and strength a man developed in his early 30s. What kind of woman greets the beast lord with, "Here, kitty, kitty?" he asked. "One of a kind," I murmured, the obvious reply. Eventually, I had to look him in the eye. Better sooner than later. The beast lord had a strong, square jaw. His nose was narrow, with a misshapen bridge, as though it had been broken more than once and hadn't healed right. Considering the regenerative powers of this shape-changer, someone must have pounded his face with a sledgehammer. Our stares met. Little golden sparks danced in his gray eyes. His gaze made me want to bow my head and look away. He regarded me as if I was an interesting new snack. "I'm the lord of the free beasts," he said. I figured. Perhaps he expected me to curtsy. He leaned forward a little, puzzling over me as if I were an odd-looking insect. "Why would a knight protector hire a no-name merc to investigate the death of his diviner?" Gave him my best cryptic smile. He grimaced. "What have you found out?" he asked. "I'm not at liberty yet to tell you that. Not with a pack suspect." He leaned forward more, letting the moonlight fall on his face. His gaze was direct and difficult to hold. Our stares locked, and I gritted my teeth. 5 seconds into the conversation, he was already giving me the alpha stare. he started clicking his teeth, I'd have to make a run for it. Or introduce him to my sword. You will tell me what you know now, he said. Or, he said nothing, so I elaborated. See, this kind of threat usually has an or attached to it. Or and tell me and I'll allow you to live, or something like that. His eyes ignited with gold. His gaze was unbearable now. I can make you beg to tell me everything you know, he said, and his voice was a low growl. It sent icy fingers of terror down my spine. I gripped Slayer's hilt until it hurt. The golden eyes were burning into my soul. I don't know, I heard my own voice say. You look kind of out of shape to me. How long has it been since you took care of your own dirty work? His right hand twitched. The muscles boiled under the taut skin and fur burst, sheathing the arm. Claws slid from thickened fingers. The hand snapped inhumanely fast. I weaved back and it fanned my face, leaving no scars. A strand of hair fell into my left cheek, severed from my braid. The claws retracted. I think I still remember how, he said. A spark of magic ran from my fingers into Slayer's hilt and burst into the blade, coating the smooth metal in a milky white glow. Not that the glow actually did anything useful, but it looked bloody impressive. Anytime you want to dance, I said. He smiled slow and lazy. Not laughing anymore, little girl? He was impressive, I'd give him that. I turned the blade, warming up my wrist. The saber drew a tight, glowing ellipse in the air, flinging tiny drops of luminescence on the dirty floor. One of them fell close to the beast lord's foot, and he moved away. I wonder if all of this changing has made you sluggish. Bring your pig sticker and we'll find out. We circled each other, our feet raising like clouds of dust from the dirt floor. I wanted to fight him, if only to see if I could hold my own. His lips parted, releasing a snarl. I swung my blade, judging the distance between us. If we fought and if I survived, I'd never find out who killed Greg. The pack would tear me to shreds. This was getting me nowhere. I had no choice but to lose face. I stopped and lowered my blade. The words didn't want to leave my mouth, but I forced them out anyways. I'm sorry. I'd love to play, but I'm not my own person at the moment. He smiled. Did my best to ignore the condescension I saw on his face. My name is Kate Daniels. Greg Feldman was my legal guardian and the closest thing to a family I've had for many years. I want to find the scum who killed him. I can't afford to fight you, and I won't show off my magic. I just want to know if the pack had something to do with Greg's death. Once I find the killer, I'd be more than happy to indulge you. I offered him my hand. He halted, studying me, and then the fur melted away, absorbed through the follicles that produced it. The beast lord took my hand in his human palm and shook. Fair enough. Right now I'm not my own person either, he said. Being a beast lord, he probably never was. The gold in his irises shrank to mere flecks. His control was unbelievable. The most adept of shape-changers could choose between three forms, human, animal, and beast-man. To change a part of your body into one form while keeping the rest of it in another, as he had, was incredible. Before his night, I would have said it couldn't be done. The beast lord sat down on the dirty floor. I had no choice but to follow. Feeling like an idiot for dusting my jeans off earlier, if I proved to you that the pack had no interest in removing the diviner, will you share? Yes. He reached into his sweatshirt, produced a black leather folder, zipped shut, and offered it to me. I held my hand out, but he retracted it before my fingers touched the supple leather. I wondered if he was quicker than me. It'd be interesting to find out. Between us, he said. Understood. I took the folder and unzipped it. Inside were photos, shots of corpses, some human, some partially animal, mangled and bloody. The bright, awful crimson dominated the images, making it difficult to analyze them. I looked over the photographs anyway. Corpse after corpse after corpse, torn, disemboweled, drenched in their blood. It made me ill. 7, I murmured, holding the pictures by their edges, as if the blood on them would stain my fingers. Yours? Every one. He reached over to tap one of the shots. This one? Zachary Stone. The alpha rat. Tough, vicious son of a bitch. I tried to see beyond the blood, focusing on the injuries. Something chewed on him. Something chewed on 5 of them. And would have chewed on the other 2 as well if it wasn't scared away. A little light went off in my head. Greg was working on this. Yes, and keeping it quiet. The people want power. They lust after it the same way the vampires lust after blood. They see us as rivals, and they'll attack any weakness. To admit that we can't take care of our own is weakness. Nataraha would cream his jeans if he knew. You think you are responsible? You think they are responsible? I don't know, he said, his face grim. But I'm going to find out. It made sense. The Order had little love for the Pack, which was too organized and dangerous for their liking. But faced with the choice between the people and the shapeshifters, the Order would side with the Pack. Greg could have been tailing a vampire when something killed him, preventing him from revealing what he saw or was about to see. The vampire could have been caught in a struggle, or the vamp could have been following Greg when something killed him, because he was getting too close. Or, I would like to speak with Corwin, I said. His face showed no reaction. Is he a suspect? There's no point in lying. Yes. Done, he said. You'll have your talk on our premises. That's fine. I did my part, he said. Took the M scan I stole from the wagon and spread it in the dirt. What am I looking for? He asked. These, pointing to the yellow lines. Looks like a scanner malfunction. I don't think so. He frowned. What would register yellow? I don't know, but I know an expert who might. You have something more to go on besides that. There was the hair, and I considered not telling him about it. Forewarned is forearmed, and he didn't give me anything that I couldn't have gotten from the Night Protector. Theoretically. Still, the Beast Lord saved me a lot of work, and I doubted the texture of Corwin's hair could be altered so severely that DNA mapping would not match it to the sample. The Beast Lord looked at the photographs, shifting them with his marked slowness. He looked almost human. I realized I was biased against Nataraha and his College of Death devotees, with their clinical indifference to tragedy and murder. For them, a dispatched vampire and a comatose journeyman equaled a loss of investment, costly and inconvenient, but ultimately not emotionally painful. The man in front of me, on the other hand, had lost friends. They were people he knew well, and they had placed themselves in his charge. The pack leader's ultimate duty was to protect his pack, and he had failed them. As he looked at the snapshots of their deaths, his face reflected determination and anger. Cold, crystallized anger, born of guilt and grief. There was an old word for that kind of anger, wrath. This I understood. I felt it every time. I thought of Greg. I'd have to be very careful from now on, because I was no longer neutral. If the Beast Lord did kill Greg, I would have to work harder to convince myself of his guilt. To think that I had found a kindred spirit in the Beast Lord, how touching. Greg's death was making me lose my mind. Perhaps I could hack off the murderer's head while the Beast Lord held him down. Several hairs were found at the scene, I said. The medical examiner's office doesn't know what to make of them. They contain fragments of both human and feline genetic sequences. It's not any kind of shape changer that the ME's analysts have seen. It's weird as hell, and no, I don't have the exact printout of the base pairs. Does Nataraha know? I think he does, I said. One of his journeymen gave me Corwin's name. He didn't say they thought he did it, but it's obvious they do. Small muscle twitched in Beast Lord's cheek as if his face wanted to twist into a feral snarl. Figures. Are you satisfied, I asked. He nodded. For now, I'll call you. I won't come here again, I said. Unicorn Lane makes my skin crawl. His eyes shone again. Really? I find it relaxing. A scenic location. Moonlight. I was never much for scenic locations. Next time I'd like an official invitation. He put away the snapshots. Can I keep those? I asked. He shook his head. No. It's enough that they exist. I turned to leave and paused before the gap in the ruined wall. One last thing, Your Majesty. I'd like a name I can put onto my report, something shorter than typing out the leader of the Southern Shape-Changer faction. What should I call you? Lord. I rolled my eyes. He shrugged. It's short. This was turning out to be a difficult night, and it showed no signs of being over. I climbed out over the heap of rubble. Jim was gone. Something touched my shoulder, and I whirled and saw the Lord of Beasts looking at me from the gap 10 feet away. Curran, he said, as if granting me a boon. You can call me Curran. He melted into the darkness. I waited for a moment to make sure he was gone. Nobody jumped me from the shadows. Beyond the unicorn, I could see the blue fray lanterns of the city. Time to take the M-skin to my expert. He rarely minded late-night visits. So, did you think that she was going to fight the Beast Lord, or were you not surprised when she backed down? I was really surprised that she was, basically begging for a fight. Very brave. Courageous. Maybe a little stupid. Champion Heights was an easy place to find. It was about the only high-rise still standing. Once it was called Lennox Point, but it had undergone so many renovations and changed hands so many times that its old name was all but forgotten. Nestled among the artfully pruned evergreens, the 17-story building of red brick and concrete loomed above the shops and bars of Buckhead, like a mystic tower. Pale haze clung to its walls and balconies, blurring the crisp man-made edges as a web of wards worked tirelessly to convince the very magic which fed it to the high-rise was nothing but a large rock. A distortion, the side effect of the spells, labor spread unevenly across the structure, and sections of the high-rise looked like the portions of a steep granite cliff. The enchantment must have cost a small fortune, and although it had kept the high-rise standing so far, there was no guarantee it would continue to do so. I thought it would. The entire setup that had the bizarre logic peculiar to complex magic, understanding it required a mind with a specific twist. Just like quantum physics. Whatever the future held for Champion Heights, the owners had already recouped their investment several times over. Many couples would be happy to retire on what they charged for a year's rent. I hurt Chameleon into a lot among the Cadillacs, distinguished Lincolns, and a bizarre mechanisms designed to transport the drivers during the magic waves. There was no convenient way to carry an M-scan, so I folded it and slid it between the pages of my almanac. The night wind came, bringing smells from far away. A touch of wood smoke, the aroma seared meat. I crossed the lot and made my way up. Flanked by some picturesque shrubbery to the revolving glass doors, enchanted glass a little of its transparency. But I had no trouble making out the heavy metal grate, barring the lobby and a small cage with a guard who leveled a sharp crossbow at me. I reached to my left and pressed the button on the intercom. It hissed. 15th floor, 158, please. His voice came back and distorted by the static. Code, please. Forth he fared at the fated moment, sturdy, skilled, to the shelter of God. Without the code, he would keep me outside while he queried 158, and even then I wouldn't get in without being frisked and surrounding Slayer. Parting with my saber was not an option. The metal grate slid aside. Proceed. A revolving door admitted me to the lobby, flooded with the light of fey lanterns. My steps, loud on the tiled floor, polished in red granite, sent little echoes scurrying into the corners. I approached the elevator. The magic was still up, but I visited Champion Heights in the middle of magic fluctuations before. Their elevator worked no matter the circumstances. A luxurious green carpet lined the 15th floor. The pile was thicker than some mattresses I've seen. Sinking into it, I made my way to the metal door, marked 158, pressed the button to the bell, and knocked in case the magic had short-circuited it. Nobody home. The metal box of an electronic key card reader, about 6 by 3 inches, secured the door like all things in Champion Heights. The lock was not what it seemed. Magic masquerading as tech. Slayer whispered as it left its sheath, and I slid its blade into the narrow slit of the key card. Concentrating on the saber, I put my hand onto the blade. A jolt of magic pulsed from my fingers. Open! The lock clicked and the heavy door gave under the pressure of my palm, retrieving Slayer. I stepped inside and locked the door behind me. Reaching for the Fey lantern, I turned the round handle, and a wide tongue of blue flame flared into existence, illuminating the apartment. I would never make a living as an interior decorator. My home was a comfortable chaos, my furniture mismatched but highly functional. The aesthetic properties of any given piece was secondary to its convenience and luxury for me. It meant having a small table by my couch to support a reading lamp and a mug of coffee. Not so here. The moment I stepped into this apartment, it was clear that its owner had crafted his environment with a deliberate goal in mind. I was looking in the years of selective purchase made by a person for whom the word sale held no meaning. The furnishings, the carpet, the spare decorations all blended to present. A distinctive whole, and looking at it produced the same feeling as viewing the reconstruction of an African savanna in a zoo. My stomach is growling. It was harmonious but alien habitat of glass, steel, and white plush, all ellipses and curves. 3 doors led from the room, one to the bedroom, another to the bathroom, with a double sink and a walk-in shower, and a third to the lab. The spell haze did not affect the view from the inside, and huge windows offered a vision of midnight. Atlanta under the endless black sky. The weak light of the single Fey lantern caressed the window glass, rendering it invisible, and permeated the darkness outside, as if the apartment itself was a piece of midnight sky, defined by glass and stone, but not separated from the world outside. If I stood very close to the window, I could imagine that I was flying high above the city. As I watched the tech hit, thousands of tiny lights sparked into existence, the jewels among the folds of black velvet, and the street lamps flooded the avenue below. Me and man-made sunshine, the Fey lantern flickered and died, and bright electric lights came on inside the apartment, murdering the illusion and separating me from infinite blackness. The glass became impenetrable, and I stood confined by it, as if locked in the middle of the transparent cage. Suddenly I felt vulnerable, so I turned off the lights, all but a single reading lamp of steel and opaque glass. I washed my face and my arms up to my elbow, dried them with a fluffy white towel I found hanging on a hook near the sink, and took up residence on the ultra-modern couch. Corinne's question nagged me. Why would the night protectors give Greg's investigation to a no-name merc? On the surface, it made no sense. Finally managed to look past my own ego. One of the order's own was dead, a well-known man of substantial power. They wouldn't handle it themselves. They would bring in a crusader. The crusader served as the order's equivalent of a lancet. We've got a nasty boil ready to rupture. Throw a crusader at it. The learners highly skilled and deadly. They were great at what they did, and after they did it, they returned to where they came from. Ted expected me to investigate the crime. He expected me to make glutz and noise and draw attention to myself, while the crusader quietly worked under my smoke screen. It chafed at me for about 2 seconds, but in the end, both parties got what they wanted. Ted got his lightning rod, and I got to search for Greg's killer. Everybody won. I flipped open the almanac and pulled the M-scan and the folded cutout of the article Bono had given me from between the book's pages. Glancing at the M-scan one last time, I slid it onto the glass table, unfolded the article, and began to read. The owner of the apartment would arrive shortly. He rarely stayed out past 2 in the morning. He thought 3 a.m. to be an unlucky hour. Alright. I'm going to stop there because I'm getting hungry. I haven't eaten yet today. Oh, that felt good to stretch like that. How are you enjoying the book so far? Me too. I'm still amazed with how much spunk she has.
It's crazy, isn't it? Do you think your expert's gonna know what's going on with the M scan? I think so. I also have to get my laptop working again. I thought I fixed it, but it's not letting me edit videos anymore, and it's not working after like a minute of being on, so wish me luck. You are just so sweet. I appreciate you. Much love. Have a wonderful day. Until next time.